part 2 of this video series on Franklin Mountain State Park, we're visiting El Paso's Scenic Drive. Though Scenic Drive isn't technically part of the state park, its proximity to the park and ease of access makes it a must-do when you're visiting El Paso. We'll be starting from the west side, not far from the University of Texas at El Paso, and driving across Scenic Drive to the central Manhattan Heights part of town. As you approach Scenic Drive from Rim Road, there's a parking lot to the right, and Billy Rogers Arroyo Park to the left. The arroyo is a large area that water from the Franklin Mountains funnels into when it rains. While people don't go into the arroyo often, it's a neat place to see plants and animals of the Chihuahuan Desert. As you enter Scenic Drive from the west side, there's this arch with a bell inside of it on the side of the road. I'm not sure why it's there, but it's been there as long as I can remember. If you know why it's here, let me know in the comments. As we turn onto the road, we're now at the official gates of Scenic Drive. There's a neat monument at the entrance, which was provided by the Women's Department of the El Paso Chamber of Commerce in 1963. The road is also closed to motorized traffic on Sunday mornings to allow bicycles and pedestrians to enjoy the views. As we drive to the first stop, let's take a moment to learn some of the history of Scenic Drive. The road was originally established in the 1920s. It was called Mountain Road, and part of the labor for its creation was provided by prisoners on chain gangs. In 1932, the city paved the road, and later in 1934, some drainage areas and culverts were established by the Civilian Conservation Corps. Their logo is still visible on some of the cement work to this day. On the left, you can see an access road for El Paso water utilities. And the geologists I know are always fascinated by the layers of rock that are visible in this road cut. Here we are at our first stop. It's a small area on the side of the mountain that has a pretty good view of the mountain above. You can see ocotillos, prickly pear cacti, mesquite trees, and creosote bushes. You can also get close to the outcropping and really see the sedimentary layers in these rocks. If you look closely, you can see veins of crystal growing in them. There's an okay view of the mountains across the border in Mexico, but the real views are yet to come. So let's get back on the road and continue heading toward the top of Scenic Drive. When I was a child, I remember the rock wall in this section being in pretty bad shape. It was fixed somewhere around 1990, and it's been well maintained ever since. This road isn't just scenic either. It's often the shortest way for many people to get between the west side and the central and northeast parts of town. So you'll see that most of the traffic isn't stopping to take in the views. On the left, there's a steep access road to the radio and TV towers at the top of the mountain. But it's a private road, so only vehicles with official business are allowed. Sometimes, the top point of Scenic Drive is pretty full, especially in the evenings. There are often children, ice cream trucks, and more, so it pays to be extra cautious as you come around this somewhat blind curve in the road. And here we are, our second stop, Murchison Rogers Scenic Drive Park. There are quite a few informational plaques that explain what you see, as well as some of the history of both El Paso and Scenic Drive. A few of them are a little bit out of date, since they refer to being able to see the smokestacks at the Asarco smelting plant, which was demolished in 2013. However, overall they do a decent job of describing the area. Enough talk though, let's head down into the park and enjoy the scenic views. The park itself is rather small and quite rocky, but there are 2 concrete sidewalks that you can use to walk around the park easily. There are also several park benches, and at the front edge of the park, there are some binoculars for public use. The view of the city from here is quite spectacular, and you can see many landmarks, including the El Paso International Airport, Western Refining, the Rio Grande, the red-shaped X building in Mexico, and the Chamizal. where there's a giant Mexican flag that flies during some of Mexico's more important holidays. As we swing around, you can see the familiar perspective of downtown El Paso. Here at the top of Scenic Drive, we're at the southernmost point of the Rocky Mountains. Those mountains you can see behind downtown are in Mexico, and they're part of the western Sierra Madre Range. If you look north while you're here, you can think about how you're standing at the beginning of a mountain range that extends all the way into Canada and Alaska. After looking at a couple of commemorative stones, it's time to get back on the road and drive down the eastern half of Scenic Drive. On this side of the mountain, the speed limit is a little bit higher, so the video is slightly bumpier. From this side of Scenic Drive, you can see northeast El Paso, Fort Bliss, parts of central El Paso, and the east side as well. Geologists might notice that the rocks on this side of the mountain are a little bit different, and the layers of rocks are oriented differently as well. There's a fault line, the Franklin Fault, that runs just off the edge of the mountain to our right, which explains some of the tremendous forces it must have taken to raise these mountains in the past. Up the mountain to our left here is where El Paso's famous star is located. And while you might be tempted to climb up to it, it's on private property with no trespassing signs. So unless you can get special permission from the landowners, it's something that shouldn't be done. Not to mention, there are many ways you could hurt yourself. Falls, loose rocks, snakes, and spiny plants are all hazards in this area. The road on the left is the entrance to the El Paso Police Academy. They have open houses about once a year. While I've heard it was built on an old rock quarry or mine, I can't find any references that tell me what the site was before it became the police academy. Leave me a comment if you know how to locate this information. After passing the police academy, we come to our final stop. It's another overlook, but this one is a little bit lower, and it's pretty much oriented straight to the east. People often come here in the evenings to watch the city lights come on. This outlook is particularly scenic when you catch a full moon rising in the evening sky. But even in the daytime, it helps Scenic Drive live up to its name. This shot almost looks like I'm standing in front of a green screen. Well, let's get back on the road and enjoy the last part of Scenic Drive. On the left, we'll pass a couple of drainage systems built during the Great Depression that I mentioned earlier. The cliffs that were solid rock have now turned into a looser mixture of dirt, rocks, sand, silt, and clay. If you turn right here, there's a pretty impressive drop down into the city. It's definitely one of the steeper roads here in El Paso. The large house on the side of the mountain was built by Virginia Farah, who was part of the family that owned a large garment factory where the fountains at Farah are now located. Well, everyone, that is Scenic Drive. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. And make sure you're subscribed so you never miss anything here on Trails and Tastes of the Southwest. See you next time.